guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys checking in for today's episode and spending a little time with me today. Guys, today we're going to be talking about just one thing you can do to improve your plastic worm and your jig fishing here. Both of them are very similar, popular lures, have been around forever, and there's a lot of different complexities to them, but I'm going to talk about one thing you can do that's easy to do that's going to help you get a lot more bites on both a jig or worm in today's video, so we'll get into that here. Also, guys, before we get started, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. You guys hear me talking about that a lot. We have my winter maps that I've created for Fish the Moment on the website right now. Guys, these are great resources to learn more about a lake you've never been to before, or to get some good fishing places on one of your favorite lakes. Gives you GPS waypoints you can go straight to. You can learn all about each one of those spots. I give a full description on how to fish it, and you can duplicate it around the lake. So I'll have my Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description, along with my tackle warehouse link, guys. If you'd like to pick up some of the baits I talk about in today's video, using that link's a good way to help the channel, so really appreciate that. Okay, there's a lot of different things surrounding jig fishing and plastic worm. You have the size, you have the profile, you have the weight of the jig head, you got the weight of the slip sinker, you got the size of the hook, you've got the pound test line you're using, you have how you work it, how you manipulate it, you have how you set the hook on it. But there's one thing that you can do to really help your success on jig or worm fishing, and that is using the right color of worm based upon two factors: your water clarity and your light intensity, your sunlight condition or your cloud levels. Those are the two things that determine it. And a lot of reasons that people struggle with jig fishing specifically, and with worm fishing both, is they're using the wrong colors in the water clarity versus the cloud condition. So when you're trying to determine the water clarity, or excuse me, the best color, you can't just look at the water clarity. Because water clarity changes with different light intensity levels. So when you're talking about deciding on how to choose a color of worm or jig, say for example, you've got 3 foot of clarity in the lake you're fishing, the way that a lure looks in 3 foot of visibility on a sunny day looks completely different than how it looks on 3 foot of visibility on a cloudy day. You don't have the light penetration, therefore the light, it's a little bit darker, even though it's 3 foot of clarity, which requires a different color of lure. And it's the same if you're in shade, because you can be in 3 foot of water visibility and pitch your worm or jig up next to a stump on the sunny side of the stump, and then on the other side of the stump, if there's shade on it, again, it's lower light intensity, it's going to require a different color. So let's talk about some guidelines I'll give you guys as far as color, how I like to use my colors on both worms and jigs. Okay, first of all, the jig application colors have a lot to do also with the correlating trailer color on it. So with a plastic worm, you know, you've usually just got one color, or possibly you'll have a two-tone tail or a laminate, but basically you have more color options on a jig, you know, with the skirt strands like this or the trailer color. And by the way, guys, this is my Blaukat Throwback jig here. I will have that link in the description there too if you guys would like to try one there. So first of all, let's talk about jig color, then we'll get into worm color as far as what you need to do. When you're talking about jig colors, you basically got to talk about two different type of colorations with it. You're gonna have your dark colored jigs, say for example, usually black and chartreuse, black and blue, or black. And then you've got more of a natural color, like some type of brown or green, something like that. So you've got a natural color versus a dark color. Now, the times that you want to use the natural colors are the following here. If you have water visibility that's over about 1.5 feet, you're going to be a lot better on your natural colors, like your browns and your greens and stuff like that. But depending upon exactly how clear that water is in correlation with the light intensity, you may have to add some other options. Say for example, if the water's real clear, like 4 or 5 foot of visibility, and you've got a clear sky, then you may want some type of a jig that's got just nothing but just green pumpkin or watermelon. As the water visibility gets a little bit less, say it's down to 2.5 or 3 foot, then you maybe want to add some coloration in there to make it stand out a little bit more. And if the water visibility is closer to like the minimum range of a green or brown or natural color, like 1.5 feet, you may want to add some color like to your trailer, like, you know, a little bit, you know, chartreuse or orange on the trailer. So that's going to depend on that. And the same with the plastic worm. Most of the time on plastic worm fishing, if I'm fishing water visibility that's less than, say, 2 foot in visibility or 1.5 feet or 2, I'm using some type of darker color like a red bug or black and blue or June bug. And then if that water visibility is over about 2 foot, that's when I'm going to the more natural colors like the green pumpkins and the watermelons and different type of flakes. And that's the good thing about a plastic worm, is you got a lot of flake options. So for example, if you use like a straight watermelon colored plastic worm, it's going to look completely different in the water than if you have like watermelon with purple flake. That makes it a little bit darker in there. So what you have to do here when you're picking the right color, this is what you have to make a consideration in. Take a look at the light intensity and the water clarity, and then put your jig or your worm into the water. Now this is the key point of this video to remember. This is how you determine color. If you got whatever, say the water visibility is 2 foot and you've got a sunny day out, put your green pumpkin worm or whatever in the water, or whatever color you decide, and put it down in the water, maybe about 6 inches underneath the water, and look at it. What you want is you want to have a color that blends in a little bit with that water clarity and the light intensity, yet it stands out subtly. You don't want it to get invisible, or you don't want it to stand out too much. So in other words, let's say for example, if you have 4 foot, if you got 3 foot of water visibility in a sunny day, if you put like a green pumpkin worm in the water in those conditions, it's going to look about right. It's going to blend in a little bit and it's going to stand out just a little bit. But if you put something like a red bug or a June bug worm in that water clarity, it's going to stand out too much. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too bright, and you're not going to catch many fish on it. So it all is relative to the combination of those two. So let's say, for example, that water visibility is still about 2 or 3 feet, and then all of a sudden it starts raining and it gets dark and the heavy cloud's coming in and it's really dark, but you still have that clarity. When you put the red bug or the June bug in the water, it may blend in perfectly. It may stand out a little bit, yet it's also subtle. But if you put the green pumpkin in the water, it'll be invisible during those low light conditions. So then you have to adapt to a darker color with the lower light conditions. Now this is something that you have to experiment with, because you have different gradients to it. Because let's say you've got water visibility on one end, the lake you fish has got 12 inches of visibility or 10 foot of visibility. So you've got everything between 1 foot to 10 feet of visibility, and then you've got dozens of different type of light intensity situations. You may have a sunny day, completely sunny with not a cloud in the sky. You may have a day where it's sunny, but there's light, puffy cirrus clouds everywhere. You may have a day where there's big cumulus clouds covering half the sky. It could be raining, it could be dark. There's dozens of different types of cloud cover, and in correlation with the wind and the sun angle, that will determine that light intensity penetration in the water. The angle of the sun, the speed of the wind, the light intensity, based upon clouds or lack of the clouds, and the water visibility, those 4 factors will determine the best color of jig or plastic worm. So, yeah, I've talked about this a lot. One of the things that I've talked about on this channel is this need for a lure, not just a worm or jig, but you can apply it to a worm and a jig. You can do it to other lures too. They got to blend in, yet they got to stand out a little bit. That is what you have to always look for. It's got to be subtle on both ends. It's got to subtly blend in. It's got to subtly stand out a little bit. Either side to that, a lot of times you're not going to catch many fish in a lot of situations. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, because sometimes I've caught big smallmouth bass on a chartreuse topwater lure in gin clear water. Those are exceptions. You're talking about smallmouth, talking about a little bit different things. This is not like a set in stone rule. It's like everything in bass fishing, guys. There's nothing that's set in stone. I can tell you this, what I just told you, and you can probably give me an example where it's the exact opposite of what I told you. But if you fish throughout the course of a year, and if you go on 50 fishing trips, you will find out what I just told you about the colors is true more than not. It's true the majority of the time, but there's always exceptions to the rule. But that's the way it is in anything in bass fishing. It's like there's nothing that is in stone in bass fishing. And that's one of the things that makes it one of the most difficult sports in the world to really master. So anyway, guys, hope it helps you out. We'll check in later. See you.